Hello, Robin. Hello, you there? Man, I am so excited today. I just want to welcome everyone in. Thank you for spending time with us today. I am just super excited. I get an opportunity to interview my very good friend, someone that I've known for seemed like a lifetime. We're going to have the pleasure today of, well, actually, you're going to have the pleasure of sitting in on a conversation with my good friend, Robin Taylor. She's a real estate broker. She's an author. She's an investor. She's a mom. She's a friend. She's an auntie. I mean, just the list just goes on and on and on. And so, and just to kind of give you some background, this is presented to you by Victory Capital. We've been doing these now for the last couple of weeks, and we're going to continue to bring you just great content to try to add value to you as an investor and try to add value to you as an investor. And so as you listen in, I want you to just bear with me as I try to prepare this for Zoom. So, so here we are. So we are excited about interviewing my good friend, Robin Taylor. So Miss Taylor, can you just take a few minutes and introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, Zoom world. As he said, I'm Robin Taylor, the broker and co-owner of the Real Estate House of Texas. I've been doing this a good long while now. We have a boutique brokerage, means we are small in size and big in heart. We are experts at what we do. We do have a real estate academy. So we teach and train agents on how to do the business and how to do it well. We also specialize in working with investors. We're investors ourselves, and we love everything real estate. So I'm excited to get to be on this call with my good long-term friend and to kind of share the coordination of our expertise as we keep bumping into each other in the field. So I'm excited to share with you guys today.
All right, well, good deal. So what I want to start out with is, so you are a very experienced real estate broker and an investor. So just from just kind of a 365 degree, from a 365 degree view, can you give our audience and give investors kind of a insight of what you're seeing in today's market post-COVID-19?
Post-COVID-19. Okay, we kind of saw this emerging before COVID, but I can definitely say it is a seller's market. Of course, that means there are more buyers than there are homes for sale. So we're seeing when they hit the market, they're going quick. We're back into that highest and best and people bidding over list price because that's just the climate that we're in right now. Now, that really affects traditional sales, but if you're an investor, a lot of our investors who are maybe not as savvy on different strategies kind of lean toward this is the wrong time for me to buy, because of course, as an investor, you want to buy low. But this post-COVID environment is actually the best environment to jump into investing because you also have those folks that hold the homes that are vacant, absentee owners who are afraid of what the future holds. And those folks are still out there and they still want to sell their properties. And some of them have not done any improvements to the property. So those are still being sold at a discount. And so what that means for an investor is you have to determine your strategy, what your goal is, your end goal with the investments that you're making, and then you capitalize on those opportunities as they get in front of you.
Wow. Wow. So you have just given us a lot to chew on there. So let's just start out with and the way that I like to say it is, and you've seen this, you've been in the industry for a while. Every time there's opposition, every time there's a shift, every time there's a recession, there's always opportunity in that opposition. And the savvy investors, the great investors, they they lick their chops for times like this. And so what would you say to just speak briefly to say a new investor that's kind of sitting on the fence? What would you advise a new investor that doesn't have a lot of experience? What would you say to them during this time?
I have a lot of things to say. The first thing is, I myself was a scary investor, meaning I loved the classroom. I kept learning the different strategies and how to do this, but I would never actually jump in because I don't like to lose. And
Right,
especially when it comes to money, I don't like to lose. So I kind of watched people around me make investment choices, some good, some bad. But then when I moved from watching from the sidelines to actually getting involved, I realized that first you need to be partnered up with someone that knows more than you.
mm-hmm.
So having a seasoned investor, a mentor, someone that you can go to get sound advice is definitely key. Then the other thing is what you mentioned earlier, opposition. So
Mm-hmm.
when there's opposition, you need to get in position. If
Mm-hmm.
you're calling yourself an investor or you're preparing to be an investor, you ought to be aware of what the process looks like from start to finish. And you also ought to have your financing lined up. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
not talked to someone like Elaine and you haven't found out what your buying power is, and you haven't talked about those different strategies, now is the time to actually do that and to explore that. Some people say, well, I don't want to have my credit pulled. I don't want to do this or that. But what happens if the best opportunity comes across your desk tomorrow? You're not going to be able to jump on it. Somebody's going to beat you to it. So when there's opposition, get in position. You need to know what your buying power is. You need to determine, hey, am I going to take on my first project as a solo project? Am I going to do a JV? Am I going to partner with some friends? If
Mm-hmm.
you're a scary investor, like I mentioned I was before, you may want to partner with some other friends and just kind of dive in to see what it looks like. You don't have to get rich on the first deal. You just have to try.
I love that term, scary investor. That's a great one. I will definitely keep that one. I can tell you that you will definitely hear that one again. But that's something that when I talk to new investors, as as a lender, one of the things that I try to emphasize is most investors, they put the cart before the horse, in that they go out trying to find properties first and then they scramble to get them financed and they end up with their backs against the wall, and deals fall through and then they get frustrated. But if you're a new investor, an experienced investor, you need to have your financing lined up so that when a deal comes, you know, hey, I could go to XYZ place, send them a copy of my contract, and man, you're off and started instead of scrambling to find someone, and know what you're not just what you're approved for, but know what hurdles you're going to have to overcome to get the deal done. And that's what I believe some of these national gurus don't teach is after you've signed the purchase contract, that's really when the work starts.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but how many smooth real estate transactions have you really had over your long career? I bet you can probably count your smooth transactions without any hitches on probably two hands.
Now that's a fact. Only two hands, and I may have some fingers left over.
Right, right.
So it's very rare. I mean, a well prepared buyer is going to give you a smoother process, but
Mhm.
overall, it's there's always the unknown, and you can't prepare for it. You don't know what you don't know.
Right,
But
right.
if you have at least gotten the part that you are in control of together, it's going to
Hmm.
make the ride a lot smoother. You're in control of all the financing and all the qualifications that you need to submit to the lender. Have that stuff lined up. You shouldn't have to scramble around for it. You know what they're
Right.
going to ask you for. And if you don't, they should get in contact with the lien and find out, hey, what are you going to need from me when I find that deal?
Exactly.
What paperwork is going to be required? And I can tell you as a real estate broker, I don't want to deal with an investor that doesn't have that lined up either,
Hmm.
because that's not my part of the process. My
Hmm.
expertise is my expertise, and it's definitely not your financing.
Hmm.
So I want you to already take control of the part that you're in control of, because I'm definitely going to take control of the part that I'm in control of. So
Right.
I'm going to make sure that you're getting the right deal, that it's a good investment option, that
Hmm.
it fits the strategy that you've discussed with me, of what outcome you want. But
Hmm.
then your responsibility is to make sure that those funds are available to you, that you're getting in contact with your lender, that you've submitted everything in a timely fashion that they've asked for, and that you have your funds ready, willing, and able to be able to close on the deal.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. So you talked about strategies. So let's talk about strategies, because actually last week when we talked, that we kind of spent an hour, almost an hour on the phone, just doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But I remember we talked about strategies, and for investors, both new and experienced, sometimes we don't always have our exit strategies or even our acquisition strategies lined up.
At that time.
What we do is just go find a house, and then when we find it, we'll try to come up with something. But we talked about like doing this time right now. What's a good strategy for investors? Because right now, fix and flips, you could still do them, but fix and flips are really hard during this time. So what other strategies would you talk to investors about during this COVID-19?
Well, I'm a big fan of a long-term strategy with long-term results. And that means that you're not looking at real estate investing like a hustle or a get rich quick scheme. And so that means right now, this climate is the perfect time for you to capitalize on the buy and hold strategy. That means that you maybe aren't going to get the lowest deal on a property, and that's okay. But you shouldn't be looking at it just as what is my cash flow. A lot of new investors that I talk with are immediately thinking, if I purchase this property, my payment is going to be here. I'm going to make this much per month. And that mindset is not the mindset of a winning long-term investor. It doesn't matter, as long as the property pays for itself, which should be the goal, and you hold that property, the end result is it's going to build equity for you and somebody else is paying the note. That should be the approach that you're looking at as you gather those properties that you're going to own. It shouldn't necessarily be for the cash flow. So as long as the properties can take care of themselves, continue to purchase them, hold them, and know that when this does turn around, as it always has historically with real estate, you're going to, wherever you purchase, is going to appreciate for you, and that difference is going to belong to you. And again, somebody else paid for it. And then I do want to mention this strategy as well while we're talking about buy and hold. I'm a super fan of buying new construction. A lot of investors don't necessarily look at that, but I'm telling you, how easy is it to go buy a brand new home from a builder, put a tenant in immediately? Most of the time it's under that builder's warranty, so you don't have a lot of complaints with this needs to be fixed and that needs to be fixed. Again, the mortgage is going to be manageable because it's easy to find a great tenant in a new construction property. And then following that same strategy, in 10 years, that neighborhood is matured. You'll be able to sell it for higher than what you bought it for. And it'll just help that investor reach that interim goal. Like if you want to retire and you say, hey, right now in my job, if I retire, I have 200,000 in my 401k. Well, how long is that going to last? If you were to put that same amount of money into real estate and you have multiple properties and you hold them for just 5 to 10 years, instead of that 200,000 at retirement, you're now looking at $1 million at retirement. And that just makes sense to me.
Wow. That is great stuff. That's I'm a big proponent of the new construction, the build to hold. That's and you know that's a result of scars that I've had from investing, from fixing up houses and then renting them out and getting those calls about this is not working, that's not working. And so going forward for me, the build to hold strategy is one that is going to be on the forefront for me, because and the other thing is too is having a good property manager. That's the, because I don't, even though I'm in the real estate industry, managing properties is not my sweet spot. And that's not what I want to do. And sometimes as investors, and I think you touched on this, we sometimes go into it with just a hustle mentality and not going into it with a business mentality and running it like a business and letting the professionals do what they do so you could do what you do, and that's go out and find more property. So that is awesome. So
you kind of mentioned something. I don't want to cut you off, but you mentioned something that I'd love to touch on when it comes to property management.
Hmm.
So of course you have to have a real estate license to do property management in Texas.
Right.
But I think sometimes people assume that that's all that you need. If someone has a license, they'll kind of ask, will you manage my property? If that person is not a property management specialist, you need to look elsewhere,
Okay.
because if you pay attention to the form that they give us, I'm giving away some trade secrets.
Mhm.
The form that they give us when we enter into a property management agreement with the owner, it actually only protects the real estate brokerage. It doesn't protect the owner. It has
Wow.
no assurances for the investor. It doesn't say that I'm going to pass by your property once a month, take a picture, make sure the grass is mowed, or any other thing that you're going to want if you're putting that in the hands of someone else that's truly managing the property. It should not be a relationship where you're just collecting 10% for them to run rent through you or take a phone call here and there. It has to
Hmm.
be more to it. But if you
Hmm.
don't know to ask your property manager for those assurances, you just go into a blind contract. And then at the end, if you find out that they actually never saw the property, never drive by, you're going to be disappointed at what your property looks like when you get ready to sell. So don't just let someone that has a license say, sure, I'll manage your property. It's actually a specialty. So if that person does not have a property management company, that's probably not the person that you want to manage your portfolio.
Wow. Wow. That is gold. That is investment gold right there. Because how many times have you went up to someone, and if you are a property owner, and and I think sometimes the bad experiences that we have as investors are really caused by our own lack of due diligence in trying to vet this person to see if they really can do what they say they can do.
Yes.
And that's the part that is it's like, you said that you was gonna manage it. Okay, here it is, and we just dump it in their lap and then expect, all kinds of miracles. So, but yeah, that is just real estate gold, just real estate gold. So, what other nuggets or tidbits can you give investors to uh, to to not just survive during this COVID-19 uh, pandemic, but how can we really take advantage of these opportunities out here?
Well, I'm gonna say for sure, get your team together. Know
Okay.
who your go-to expert is gonna be that walks you through this process. We
Okay.
talked about having your financing together. Have the person that's gonna run comps for you, if that's your real estate broker or agent. Make sure that you have them together. Make sure that you know what your strategy is, that you're not just throwing things out there, whatever comes your way. Kind of hone in on what your end goal is and line those things up. It's going to make you so much easier to work with. And then don't be afraid to pay for good service. A lot
Mm,
of times people want things for free and they end up getting the short end of the stick, because
mm,
they might call a real estate broker and say, hey, I need you to run comps on this property. Well, you're
mm.
asking someone to work. And how often do you get people to do a good job for you for free?
Right.
So when you have your team lined up, you might not be afraid to maybe have an agreement with them that says, hey, I'm going to be looking for these properties. I hope you'll help me look for them as well. This is what my goals are when it comes to investing. And then when I do find that property, I'm going to be working with you to get me to the finish line. Enter into a relationship. It shouldn't just be drawing straws at whoever comes your way, but don't be afraid to build a relationship, because actually the real estate business, and I think both of our longevity in this business, is because of the relationships that we've built,
Right. Right.
right? So,
Right. Exactly.
those things have a lasting effect on your end goal. Don't be afraid to build relationships. It shouldn't just be jumping here and there. Build a relationship with the title company. Find
Hmm.
out who that person, your go-to person, is going to be when they're closing your deals. Just build the relationship. I can't stress that enough. It's very important.
Wow. So you just confirmed something that uh, that you would think a lot of people would know, but real estate is really a team sport, and you're going to only go as far as the team that you create, and it takes time, because not everybody. And this is the thing, and I'm kind of harsh in this area, but everybody that has a shingle, that has a business card that says that they are a real estate agent, a broker, a lender, or whatever, you really have to vet them to see, and then find out too if y'all work good together. That's the big thing, because
Love
there's,
that you said that.
I mean, that is, I mean, just because I'm a real estate finance person, we may not mesh together, and that's fine. because I only want to work with the people that want to work with me, that value me, and that I add value to. But sometimes I'm telling you, and that can really discourage people from the business, because if they have one bad encounter, man, I can't stand agents. Agents suck. I mean, they just, and it's not all agents, it's that agent.
Right.
So yeah. So
So I want to ask you something about that. I know
okay,
you're the one conducting the interview, but I have a question.
okay.
So, so what's the difference between actually building confidence with the person that you're working with versus determining whether it's a personality match or if it's a business match? Because what if you are the expert and I get hung up on, it takes you too long to call me back, or maybe you like phone calls and I like text. How do you make a distinguishment between the two in deciding, okay, and do you have the conversation? Do you say, okay, well, this style works for me. Is that something you can do? Or do you just, hey, I'm gonna move on?
It all boils back down to communication. And how do you build a relationship? You spend time, you communicate. And so if I call you up and say, hey, I'm Aleem Bakari, I'm an investor, I'm looking for houses in this particular area. My strategy is to fix and flip. And you say, hey, well, I really don't do, I really don't work with investors. I work with homeowners, but I think I can help you. Well, see, that's a red flag right there. Because not every realtor does everything. Just
Okay.
like me, I don't do home loans. I don't do loans for homeowners. I don't do home loans. So if somebody calls me and say, hey, I'm looking at purchasing a house, I don't care if it's a $2 million house. I can't help you. And so I might not be the person. If somebody wants to buy a auto repair shop and need financing for it, that's not my specialty. I'm going to refer you on to someone else. I specialize in residential and commercial real estate around mixed use and multifamily. That's all I do. And so when sometimes you have to if somebody tells you that they can do everything, I'm always a little suspect of that.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's
good stuff.
But I like to build relationships. And going back to, remember the first time I walked in your office?
2004, 16 years ago. Yeah.
I walked in your office. I was a loan officer trying to recover, and I walked in your office and just introduced myself, and we just built a relationship. And it's just last. I mean, so that's what I would say. But I do see that we have another real good friend of mine on the webinar.
Hi.
I want to introduce you to Miss Robin Taylor. She's
I know Robin.
That's right.
But you can keep going with your introduction. Hey, Robin. Go ahead.
How are you doing? Great seeing you in America.
Yes, I'm back. Yes.
Yeah. So you two may need to meet Adrian. I think that she would be someone that you would love to work with. So, but so anyway, so let's kind of switch gears. So as I introduce you as Robin Taylor, a real estate broker and an author. So let's talk about the author. Let's talk about your new book called, I don't know if this lighter, I think that's good. Yeah.
Ooh, I have one too.
Yeah. 114 ways to make money in real estate. And I like the subtitle, Finding a Niche That Pays. So talk to us about your book.
Well, this is a love child and a collaboration with everyone affiliated with the real estate house. So last year, my partner and I, who were initially Just Properties DFW, Dallas Fort Worth, we went to a conference, Teach at the Beach, that was held by one of my mentors. Well, some kind of way through that weekend conference, we had this epiphany that, we were getting, as you put it, real estate gold from our mentor that weekend. And we thought, what a great partnership to be able to kind of take on. She's really big on investing. Her name is Dr. Tamika Bryant. Unbelievable lady. And she taught us so much that weekend. We were like, we got to get involved with the real estate house. And that's where we had the great idea of changing over our brokerage to the Real Estate House of Texas. Well, the original real estate house is out of Kansas City, Missouri. We're in Florida, in LA, all over the place now, but we were the flagship, if you will, of them branching off and expanding on the offerings of the real estate house. So everyone in connection with that brokerage collaborated to write this book. Tamika initially wrote 99 Ways to Make Money in Real Estate several years ago. But when we brought in a team, everyone got to participate because everyone has found different ways to make money in real estate. Now, though my partner and I own the Real Estate House of Texas, I guess for the past 2 years, we've also owned a co-working space called the Office at Cedar Hill. So one of our real estate investment strategies was to do a co-working office where we have all kinds of independent contractors and small business owners that participate from a membership standpoint in our office. So we have shared office space, and you pay a membership just like you would to a gym, and you come in and out and use the office as you will. So that makes it easy for us. That's one of our investment strategies. We just, have this community where all these professionals are able to network together and use this office space, have professional office, and that's in the book. So when you read the chapter, when you open up the book, that's something that my partner and I wrote about, and we shared with that. Also in the book, we talk about Airbnb. There's wholesaling. If anyone's interested in wholesaling, there's a chapter that covers that. Mortgage origination, just literally 114 different ways to make money in real estate. So you definitely want to pick this book up.
Yeah. As I kind of as I've kind of perused the book, I'm like, man, there are 114 ways that you can make money. And the thing that I like is that you have it broken down in such a way that you talk to the people that do have license and the people that don't. And so that within itself is just, I mean, it's awesome. And that's the fabulous thing about real estate. And I think it can also serve as a hindrance though, because there are so many ways. I think you do need to find your niche. And I love the subtitle that says finding a niche that pays.
Right.
And
I like that you highlighted the most important part. Majority of the book and majority of the niches that we outline, it does not require a license. Because there's people that have a true love and a passion for real estate, and they're like, but I don't want to get my license. And when you talk with them, you find out that's why they actually haven't done anything in it, because they think it starts with getting their license. It doesn't. There's so many different ways that you can make money in real estate. The co-working space that I mentioned that my partner and I have, that doesn't require a real estate license. So use this book as a guide, as an idea book. And of course, the number didn't stop at 114. So it might just inspire you to still find or create your own niche in real estate with or without a license.
Wow, that's awesome. So back to this, because I really think that this is something that we need to drill down on just a tad bit more. But just, you use the term scary investor. And that's a lot of us. I mean, for what I'm doing is scary. I'm making the pivot from residential to multifamily, which is a totally different monster. But how would you encourage someone to get over that fear of doing their first deal? And then can you also kind of drill down just a tad bit more on maybe doing your first deal with a joint venture or with someone else?
Okay, how to get them off the fence.
Yeah.
Well, so scary investors like myself, I watched other people make money. I watched them take a risk. And I'm going to say the very first thing, if your mindset isn't right, nothing else matters. If you're telling yourself everything that can go wrong, and you never ever tell yourself everything that can go right, you're never going to make the plunge. So self-talk is the number one way to go from being a scary investor to a profitable investor. It's what you tell yourself. If
Mm,
you think defeat, defeat is going to attract itself to you. That's just how it works. So if you're seeing it be successful for everyone around you, then you need to say, I'm going to be added to that group. It's going to be just as successful for me. If there's an area where you're not proficient, talk to an expert, but don't let that hold you back from actually making the first step. If you hear horror stories of this went bad and you're just going to magnetize that. So you got to get away from all the negative talk and just focus in on this is my goal. This is what I want to achieve, and this is how I'm going to get there. Focus on that. If you focus on the negative, like some people think that's just being smart. I need to know the risk. Well, yeah, you want to know it, but you don't want to hone in on it.
mm,
As long as it's in the back of your head, focus on what's going to go right. You'll
mm.
make the right steps, jump out there. Now, as I mentioned before, knowing what could go wrong, just a great strategy to overcome that is to partner with someone that has similar goals. Partner with someone who says, hey, I have this much put up in savings. You say, I have this much put up. Why don't we find XYZ? Once you guys come together on what type of property you want to try out, then jump into it that way where there's less risk because you have someone sharing the burden and sharing the profit with you. So once you do that and you see that that works, then hey, I like that. That wasn't so bad. Then you'll gain the confidence that you need to either step out there and do another one as a JV or go solo, whichever one works best for you.
Wow, that's awesome. And I am sitting here in my seat. I mean, I need something to hold me down because I'm about to just jump up because I tell people that all the time. It's all up here. It's the self-talk that you have with yourself that's going to determine if you're going to be successful or not. And I'm telling you, when I can listen to you for 5 minutes and tell if you're really going to do it or not. And if I mean, because I believe in this so much that I'm doing a whole segment June. No, it's next week. Next week, I'm interviewing TK Knighton. He's a NLP expert.
Yes.
And for me, I'm telling you, if you don't have it here, it doesn't come out into fruition until you first conceive it in your mind. And I'm telling you, self-talk and having the right mindset is key. I mean, it's key.
Absolutely.
And especially if you're having to overcome a lot of obstacles like most of us have. Most of us we weren't born with silver spoons in our mouths. We didn't come from high income earner families. We didn't come from two family households and all that. I mean, if you don't do something to change your environment, then you're going to always be stuck there. And so that's been key for me is just changing my mindset. I mean, that is just,
That's right.
as you can tell, that's just huge.
That's right. You know what? I want to take a moment, if I can, to give a
Uh-huh.
shout out to Johnny Collins.
Okay,
Because
that's my
I'm
boy.
going to tell you about 2 years ago, I posted something on Facebook that got
Mhm.
his attention. I didn't even know we were Facebook friends.
Uh,
And he responded to a post that I wrote and said, I have something I want to give you.
mhm.
And he kind of was like, go by my office and pick it up. And I really didn't put too much into it. And Johnny was so kind to actually come and personally deliver this book, which was
Wow.
called Mind Power by John Kehoe. That
Yes,
book was
yes,
instrumental
yes,
in
yes,
changing
yes,
my
yes,
life,
yes,
changing my partner's life, and
yes.
changing the trajectory of our business.
Wow.
Now, that process, we went from reading the book to actually taking his course. It was a 6-week course that
Mhm.
breaks down why we think what we think and what we
Mhm.
need to be thinking to get the
Mhm.
results that we want.
Oh, that's
So shout out to Johnny Collins for
yes,
caring
yes,
enough
yes.
to do
Yep,
that for us. And he
yep,
actually wrote the foreword of me and Cedric's first book,
yeah.
which is What to Do When You're New in Real Estate. So we wrote that book before the 114 Ways, and Johnny did the foreword for that book. So when you look at our website, you can pick that up as well.
Good deal. Good deal. So let's do this because I can't hold you for a long time because as you know, I I think that you and I could just sit here and just talk about this stuff for hours. So how can people get a copy of your book?
So go to our
Books.
website, www.whatstheplanman.com. There's a tab at the far top called Publishings. If you click on Publishings, both of the books that I mentioned are there. You get a special deal if you want to purchase both books. We autograph all of them as they go out, but just go to whatstheplanman.com and you can kind of read about our story. You can search for our house if you need to, but you can definitely grab both books there.
Good deal. Good deal. All right.
Good.
And so,
That's what I was going to ask. Thank
all
you
right.
for asking it.
So what is so this is kind of my wrap up questions. So we've just talked about books and stuff. So what's the last book that you've read?
I am reading You Are a Badass right now.
Oh, okay.
Stop doubting yourself. You know that book?
Wait a minute.
I'm
So I
reading
just
that one.
read that, but this is the one I'm reading right now. The one about making
Oh,
money.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
same
Good.
author. Absolute wonderful book. I keep several going at one time, so I have just a couple of days left with You Are a Badass. Stop doubting yourself is what I think the subtitle under is. Stop doubting yourself and
Okay.
do something awesome. And
Okay.
then I just grabbed Tony Robbins' book. Which Tony Robbins title just came in the mail? I think it's Ultimate Power.
Okay.
So a lot of, now that's like a dictionary. So that one's going to take a while to break down, but I'm glad that you mentioned that because reading is instrumental. you have to make sure you know what you do. There's people who've done it long before us, so might as well gain that wisdom.
Yep. All right. So when you want to relax and go have a great bite to eat, if you have somebody that you want to entertain, what's your favorite restaurant to take someone to?
It's actually not in Dallas. It's Jack Allen, and that is in Austin. And it
Okay.
is the most wonderful experience ever. So
Wow, I see it in your eyes. Wow.
yes, it's really nice. So a quick drive to Austin, head up to Jack Allen's great weekend, and then back to Dallas.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. So since you have a long career, what is the best real estate deal that you well, no, I'm gonna rephrase it. What would the Robin now tell the younger Robin 15 years ago, 16 years ago?
Don't just talk about it, but be about it.
Wow.
You have to live authentically and from a place of experience. The only way to get experience is to start experiencing things. Don't be so afraid to make a mistake that you talk yourself out of something good.
Oh,
And I spent a lot of time doing that. So I'd be further ahead right now if I didn't spend so much time looking at everybody else win without actually participating myself. So
wow.
that's what I would tell her. Go ahead and do it. You've read all the books. Go do it.
Right. Go ahead and do it. The thing though that we find ourselves just gathering all this info and just reading, and then sometimes I'll just so the way I got started back in '99 was being with my wife, and y'all both know my wife, and y'all know how crazy she is. So she told me, because I was reading all these books, reading Black Enterprise, just talking. And so my wife says, Aleem, when are you? And I hope I can say this on the internet, but my wife says, when are you gonna get off? Well, I'll say it like this: when are you gonna get off the breast? But that's not the word she used. Go do something. And so when your wife challenges you like that, I remember it to this day. It's like, she just smacked me in the chin and said, when are you gonna go do something? And it's like, that has just stuck with me. So good. I'm gonna be in so much trouble for sharing that on this.
You just helped somebody. That's good stuff.
I know. So one last question. So what's the biggest win that you've had in your real estate career, and then what's the biggest loss or the biggest lesson that you've learned, or the most unprofitable deal that you've done?
The most unprofitable deal is probably owner finance.
Okay.
I read up a lot on that, but didn't become the expert on that when I actually kind of stepped into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably the biggest loss, the biggest pain. probably wouldn't use that strategy. It works for a lot of people. That's not going to be something that I want to participate in anymore, because I kind of learned the hard way. But I'm going to say the biggest win in real estate was probably to go out as an independent broker. There's a lot of freedom in that and creativity that I'm able to use, and I don't have to be subject to someone else's fear. I can actually take those risks on my own, and I can also build a team and encourage them to do the same thing. There's a lot of cookie cutter brokerages that's a perfect fit for some people, but then with our brokerage, we encourage our agents not only find their own niche, to build their own brand, and we are creators with them. When they kind of outline their goals and what they want to do, the biggest win for us is having the freedom by owning our own brokerage to be able to let them do that.
Wow, that's awesome. I've always liked how you encourage and empower your agents, so much so as you know, we've been talking about this for years. I want to get my license, but it's like, I don't know if I need them, but I just do. Anyway, all right. Well, any closing thoughts, or Adrian, any questions that you would like to ask Miss Taylor?
Miss Taylor has answered a lot of my questions. I don't know, Miss Taylor, I have been teaching for 25 years. I think you know that. And so when I came back from Dubai this time, I said, this is my last year. I need to do something else. And so I started just 3 weeks ago saying, I'm going to be a real estate investor. And so
congratulations.
Thank you. And so I just have been in classes, and I've been reading and just really learning. And so when you said, I want to get you a book, because I know it's only been 3 weeks, but I need to find a niche. I need to find something that will work for me. And I don't know what that is yet. It's so many strategies out there. So I'm just starting fresh, and I'm going to go to your website, and I'm really going to, when I saw that you were going to be on this call, I was like, yes. And so, and when this is all over, hopefully we can get together in person and, you know, just talk as friends, but also somebody that is where I want to go. You know, I'm a firm believer of, you have to make your circle people that are where you want to go. And so I really admire you. You look amazing.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yes, you look amazing. I have been following you. I'm not really on social media that much, but I have been following you, and I'm so proud of you. And
Thank you so much.
I am looking forward to just talking to you and maybe collaborating with you and just being one of your little babes that can ask you questions and pick your mind. So I really appreciate this call, and I'm just looking forward to retiring by this time next year from teaching.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much. Let's definitely hook up.
Yep.
All right. So as you can tell, this is what Victory Capital, this is what we do. We connect investors to capital, and we also connect investors to other investors, and we are just connectors. And so again, this broadcast, this webinar was brought to you by Victory Capital. Victory Capital, we exist for one reason and one reason only, and that is to connect investors to the capital that they need to fund their projects. And so if you're interested, if you need financing for residential, if you're an investor and you need financing for your residential real estate or your multifamily real estate, go to www.victory capital, and Victory is spelled with a K. It's VIKTORY. And I got to tell you, the K is in the Victory because it's all about the king, but we'll talk about that on a different subject. So the king is involved in everything I do. So, but thank you all for tuning in. I'm looking forward to it. Come back next week. As I said, next week, I'm going to interview the world-renowned TK Knighton. He's a NLP expert, and we're going to talk about the mindset of wealth. So again, Ms. Taylor, thank you so much. Adrian, thank you for joining us, and this will be posted live on Facebook. So thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend, and don't eat too much barbecue this weekend. All right.
That's a
Thank y'all.
promise. Thank
All
you
right,
so
y'all.
much.
Thank you. Bye.